I was in Honduras, there was an incident where the guard in the guard tower fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he was holding his M16. And because he'd heard things in the woods outside the base perimeter, he was a little scared. He had taken his M16 off of safety and had it in his hand. And when he fell asleep standing up and fell over inside the guard tower, he shot himself 4 times. Nothing life-threatening. But all of his injuries were his own, and they were all self-inflicted by his own carelessness and his lack of awareness and his response to something that he thought was a threat that wasn't actually a threat. And last night at the debates, we saw a very, very similar thing.
Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast, 5-minute videos, 5 days a week.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, it is my opinion. This is purely opinion. No one, under any stretch of imagination, would consider me to be a journalist. I've never been to journalism school, and nobody would accuse me of such a thing. But I will tell you that I read a lot, I study a lot, I study things from every angle. And when I say that, I mean I read books on anti-racism and on racism, on socialism and on communism and on democracy and on the Republican ideas and the Democrat ideas, and I study the videos from everybody. I will not live in a guard tower and shoot myself due to ignorance or lack of awareness. It's not going to happen. And so there are some things that I heard from both political pundits last night that make me roll my eyes back in my head and go, are you kidding me? Why can't you simply tell the truth? But then I have to zoom out and genuinely express this reality. If you think this election is only about the 2 people who argued like 5-year-olds on international television last night, you are deceived. Now, whether that's intentionally or not, I don't know. And by that I mean, are you the person that pulls the wool over your own eyes and hides behind a bucket or sticks your head in the sand and says, I just want this person or that person to win because of these 4 or 5 things? But here's the reality. There is a movement afoot globally. Lest you think I'm kidding, ask yourself the question. And I didn't ask it as well. I can't ask it as well. I'm not in the position. But I watched a young African-American guy who's a nationalized American citizen from Africa who said, if this is really about equal justice, why is no one talking about all the kids that were killed in Chicago or LA or New Jersey? How about all the kids whose schools were closed down and they have no place to go to school and because of that they have no education and because of that their families are homeless? And if it's just about George Floyd, then why is Antifa holding the same kind of protests in countries all around the world? Do the people in the streets of Paris really care about George Floyd specifically? See, this is a movement much bigger even than our presidential election. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The fight that we're seeing in the streets right now may have been sparked by a catalyst such as George Floyd or Jacob Blake or Breonna Taylor. But that's not what it's really about. That was a good excuse to fight. It would be like punching someone in the nose because you don't like the color of their shoes. Were those incidences bad incidences? Absolutely. Should they have happened? No, they should have never happened. There are better ways to deal with our problem. But those things do not decide presidential elections unless you make them a global problem. Those are problems that need to be solved. They are problems that need to be solved globally and internationally. A good example, I showed the video earlier, a young man, I have not yet placed his accent, I believe he's from Jordan, but I could be mistaken, talked about King Leopold II. Leopold II of Belgium, who did devastating things in the Congo. I've been to the Congo a few times. I have great friends there and here who are Congolese citizens and American citizens. I also have friends from Nigeria and in Nigeria. And I can tell you that racism is a problem globally. No greater anywhere else, no lesser anywhere else, racism is a problem. But it's not a political problem. It's a human condition problem. It's a problem of the heart. When it gets escalated to a global problem that causes King Leopold type problems, that is a big problem. But when it's utilized to manipulate people for the purpose of an election or to change societies at large, now we have a different problem. And the biggest problem is the play on the ignorance of people who simply don't know they're being played. It looks like we're voting for this one or this one. And the truth is, the agenda that is attacking what I consider to be the greatest nation in the history of the world, and I believe there's sufficient evidence to that. Yes, America has her faults. No other country has survived with the level of prosperity, not just for itself, but the level of prosperity and freedom that has been exported from America all over the world as a result of her success. No country has done that for the same period of time and created as much wealth, prosperity, and opportunity around the world as has America. Yes, we have our problems, and we need to fix them. And some of them are racial. I don't know how more clearly I can say that. But I also know there are factions around the world. One particular individual stands out whose initials are GS, and the media has a gag order, basically, to not say his name. Or we should say all the other names, but we're told not to say his name. People are shut down in the middle of interviews for mentioning his name. But there are organizations around this world that you would not believe, because what they've done really well in the way of marketing and branding, propaganda, is they put a great label on an organization or an act or a bill or a policy or a piece of legislation that, based on its name, you would look at it and go, what a phenomenal idea. We should all do that. Chocolate sundaes for everyone, legislative act. Great, who wouldn't vote for chocolate sundaes for everyone? What they don't tell you is the sundaes are filled with cow manure and the whipped cream on top is actually arsenic. They're not going to tell you that until you've eaten it and begin to die. And they're like, yeah, but it's the chocolate sundaes for everyone bill. How could you not be approving of that? If you don't see that kind of stuff going on in our legislature and all across our country and around the world, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, they're all doing it. The bill has this wonderful, awesome name. The legislation has this wonderful, flowery name, and people fall for it, and they vote for it, and they sign up for it, and they don't even ask, what does it actually do? Who does it actually impact? Who makes money off of it? Who loses money? By the way, if you haven't heard this clarion call, always ask, where's the money? It always follows the money. Why? Because it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. Not having it, but loving it. That's the root of all evil. And with money comes power. And with power comes control. And if you can't get money to gain power and control, then you use control and power to get more money. That's the vicious cycle of the love of money, because it's really about loving power and loving control. Let me say again, if you truly believe that the election we're facing is about Orange Man bad or did Mr. Biden's son get a lot of money, you have been misled by the trumpet call, by the screaming and hollering, by the childish behavior, by the bickering back and forth. No, this election isn't about that. It's not about either one of those two Muppets that argued last night. It's not. It's about, will people like George Soros and the multiple hundreds of organizations that he has dumped billions of dollars into and inspired others to do the same, will they do in the US what they've done in Greece, what they've done in the UK, what they've done in Russia, what they've done in the Congo and in Belgium and all over the world? Will they shatter democracy as we know it to create this utopian new world order or global socialism or democratic socialism or whatever label you want to put it on this week? Chocolate sundaes for everyone is the way it's being sold. And I'm telling you right now, it's a lie. It's a lie. But this election isn't about just one or two people. It isn't about, do you like the policies of Orange Man, or do you believe that he's a constant, perpetual, professional liar? It's not about Joe Biden. I don't think there's anybody, including Joe Biden, who believes that for 8 to 12 or 16 years from now, his name will be listed as the most successful president. In fact, I'm not sure how many people are convinced 4 years from now his name will still be as president if he wins. Because there are a whole lot of things already moving in the background. There are a whole lot of things that are already being said and done, even in the debate. He can't tell you which energy bill he stands behind. Is it the Green New Deal or is it the Biden plan? Just listen to his own words. But he's also already committed to allegiances with Bernie Sanders and AOC, who already have their own bills and their own ideas being promoted. And they don't sound like anything that historically ever has happened in the United States, nor do they sound like something that the majority of American people would vote for. But by voting for Biden, who's already said, I will align myself with them, that's what you're voting for. I'm just saying. If you think this election is about one of those two people, you are sadly mistaken. I think the one odd thing about Donald J. Trump that a lot of people are missing is that he is neither committed to the Republicans nor committed to the Democrats. He's not going along with this new world order at all. And that's what's pissing a lot of people off. He seems to have his own agenda. He seems to have his own agenda for what America has been, should be, will be. And it doesn't look like the plan that a lot of people, including Romney and others, have been supporting for decades. Decades. There's always been a shill of some sort in the presidency. Just read some of the documents about aliens and UFOs and HARP. Yes, it is possible through certain levels of energy and electronics to control the weather. If you don't believe that, you just haven't done the research. It's just a fact. We have enough science to know that you can direct a storm. You can weaponize the weather. It's been done. Just do the research. There have been aliens found. In fact, there have been reports of alien bodies buried in the deserts of Texas, not 50 miles from my home, since the Civil War. It was on the front page of the paper in the 1860s. The government's been lying about it, and when the presidents asked, and Barack Obama made the same comment on the nightly shows that Bill Clinton did, there are things that I just can't tell you, and there are things that I just don't know. Because some of those things are on a need-to-know basis, and the president is a temporary employee, 4 to 8 years tops. He may be the ruler of the free world, but there are things that the deep state, the darker shadow people are simply not going to tell them. And so is the case now. A figurehead? Yes. Policymaker? Yes. Lightning rod? Absolutely. Every president in American history has been. But if you think this election is about the personalities of one of those old guys versus the other of those old guys, you have been misled intentionally. No, what we're voting for right now is a battle of ideas. Antifa is an idea. Antifa is a lot more than an idea. An idea doesn't generally walk around with $20 million or $200 million backing up their ideas with U-Haul trucks showing up with weapons and barricades and bricks before the supposed spontaneous protest takes place. Do a little homework. You're going to find it. I am not going to tell you who to vote for. And I'm not going to tell you which America you want to live in. The one of the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? Or the 1960s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? But the America that we're looking forward to 25 years from now, if we don't stand our ground as an American populace now, will look a lot more like the USSR in the 1960s. I'm just saying. Do your homework. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I don't care who you vote for. But you better vote. You better do your homework and be informed and make a decision and get involved. My friend Bruce Carter says, pick up the baton, the battleground challenge. Get involved. Just know something. Don't vote on opinion simply because one guy pisses you off and the other guy makes you happy or doesn't piss you off as bad. If you don't get passionate about this country that we live in and the freedoms that we've enjoyed for so many years, they will be gone. That's a leadership responsibility. There are people who have been commissioned as journalists, as fact tellers, as school teachers, as college professors, who are supposed to be both telling us accurately and correctly what our history is and preparing us for our future. And for decades, they have fallen down on the job. They have not reported the facts as they are. They've reported opinions that suit them. They have not told us the facts of our history. Some of those, in the best term, have been whitewashed, meaning they've been lined up with the victor, if you will, and manipulated. I agree, 100%. Some of those stories need to be retold in the narrative that is more accurate to the actual expression of the event. But some of them have been completely lied about and left out to serve a different political purpose, and that is the end of America as we know it and socialism globally. Do your homework, be informed, get involved, and vote. A head in the sand action right now is not going to serve anyone. Not you, not me, not your grandchildren, not my grandchildren, nobody. So get busy, get learned, get educated, get informed, and get activated. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.